This presentation is on the summative assessment analysis, Standard 7.2, Criterion 24, and Standard 7.3, Criterion 25. My name is Victoria Matejcek, and this is for iTech 7500. Standard 7.2, Criterion 24, use assessment data to inform and guide instruction based on individual student needs. This data table shows how the class as a whole performed on each individual standard on the math pretest. This shows that my students overall struggle the most with the geometry type questions. These questions require the students to understand the attributes, which is the number of sides, angles, etc., of shapes, and be able to name and compare different types of quadrilaterals. I use this information to guide my instruction. Because the majority of my students struggled with shapes and their attributes, I decided to reteach this topic whole group using varied strategies. Lastly, I extended with the class on fractions because it was a standard my class did well with. This data table shows how individual students performed on the test as a whole. This provided guidance for small group time. I assigned some adaptive practice to all students in the area in which they required more practice. I used programs such as Dreambox and Freckle to address these individual deficiencies during math centers and guided math. I extended with those students who performed well through project-based work to show their knowledge, and they also helped underperforming students. Standard 7.3, Criterion 25, provide opportunities for students to reflect on their own learning data. After taking the pretest, students were shown their scores and were asked to set a personal goal for themselves. We also set a class average goal. Immediately following the post-test, I privately shared individual test scores with the students to see if their goal was met. I conferenced with students and we both reflected on their results together. We then discussed our class goal and if we had met it, which we did not. We discussed as a class the types of questions they feel they struggled with, why we did not meet our class goal, and what we need to work on or practice in the future. Findings were shared with teammates and interventionists to find commonalities and differences. Remediation strategies and resources were shared. We found as a grade level, all students were struggling with the same standards, and groups of students who underperformed varied based on class. Students were remediated during intervention time and during math centers. They received adaptive practice online as well as different types of centers, games, hands-on, group task cards, etc., based on individual learner needs, and were reassessed either during guided math, through conversation/whiteboards, or using an exit ticket. Thank you for listening.